Okay, well, welcome everyone. Glad you could make it to our special award presentation today. We're all here to honor our co-founder and friend, Howard Wolinsky. Um, my name is Bill Manning, and I'm Executive Director of ASPI. I've been on active surveillance since 2009, and I met Howard probably in 2018 or 2019. And we've been associated ever since. Brief history about our award program. It was originated in 2022 with our first annual Chodak Award. This was to honor one of the greats, Dr. Gerald Chodak, who was basically in the forefront of pioneering active surveillance as something more than just an afterthought. After 2023, or starting in 2023, we branched out with several more awards, basically a patient advocacy award and also a special advocacy award for individuals in the medical profession. We think it's important to recognize all of these individuals, given that it's been such an uphill battle getting active surveillance accepted. And Dr. Chodak, Dr. Klotz, and others
Mm.
have spent decades working tirelessly trying to get this accomplished. And I would say that now we are actually seeing the fruition of all of their hard work, and that active surveillance is now becoming uh, much more widely accepted, certainly more widely accepted than when I was originally diagnosed. So, with our Patient Advocacy Award, it's geared for individuals outside of the medical community that have also been pushing for active surveillance education. And Howard has been one of the big drivers in that field. And we are very grateful for his work and grateful for all of his assistance with ASPI. So that's why we're here to award him today. Now, the way we will do this program is the Patient Advocacy Award was originally created for our other co-founder, Thrainn Thorvaldsson, who got the first one in 2023. So from this point on, we have awarded each year someone this Patient Advocacy Award. So in our program, we will hear from Thrainn first. He'll talk briefly about his active surveillance journey and then about Howard. Then we have a series of pre-recorded videos that folks have sent in with messages for Howard. Some are live video, some are uh, basically spoken video. And we'll play those videos um, in sequence. And then once we get to the end of all the videos, we'll open up for individuals to speak about their experience and their working with Howard. And at the very end of that, we will then have Mark Lichty, our chairman, present the award through the magic of the internet uh, to Howard. And at that point, the program will conclude. We can then open up the floor for individuals that would just like to chat, and we'll go from there. So I'd like to start off with turning the floor over to Thrainn and have him express his experience with Howard Wolinsky. Take it away, Thrainn.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, greetings from Iceland, long distance. It is a great pleasure and true honor to address you today as we celebrate Howard and the well-deserved recognition he is receiving from ASPI. I live in Iceland, and I was diagnosed with prostate cancer back in 2005. At that time, I declined treatment after learning about Dr. Klotz's new ideas that men with low risk scores didn't necessarily need immediate intervention, but could instead choose a path of active surveillance. This concept interested me, and I wanted to learn more. So I asked around, what is the best conference in the US for someone who wants to truly understand prostate cancer and stay informed about the latest thinking? And the answer was the PCRI conference in Los Angeles. I attended that conference 3 times, 2016, 17, and 18, together with my wife, Elin Óskarsdóttir. Through those events, I gained invaluable knowledge. But even more importantly, I met incredible men who would later be a part of establishing and shaping ASPI and became good friends. During those years of attending the conference, I thought we need a skilled journalist to help share these new ideas about active surveillance, to explain them, to challenge the status quo, to reach people. I also wanted to get the message out about my active surveillance support group I had established here in Iceland. So I asked around, and someone pointed out to me a journalist in Chicago, Howard Wolinsky. I was told that Howard wasn't afraid to speak his mind, that he was the first prostate cancer patient ever invited to speak on a panel at the medical conference. And not only that, he had to fight hard just to get the microphone at the conference. That told me everything I needed to know. After months of searching, I finally connected with Howard, and together we came up with the idea to start ASPI. We were joined by Mark Litchi, Gene Slattery, and later Bill Manning. Howard has been an extraordinary force within ASPI. Honestly, I cannot imagine the organization without him. His depth of knowledge in prostate cancer and active surveillance is unmatched, and the way he communicates that knowledge is both powerful and accessible. Among the growing number of people involved with ASPI and wider, Howard is widely respected. His voice carries weight in every discussion, and his presence makes a real difference. It has been one of the great honors of my life to have played a part in bringing Howard into this vital effort, an effort that has helped and encouraged so many men on the prostate cancer journey. And Howard, I thank you for your work, your wisdom, your courage, and your friendship. And finally, heartily thanks to Howard's wife, Judy. Without your support, Howard would not been able to give so much of himself to this cause. We are all grateful to you. Congratulations, Howard, on this much-deserved recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Thrainn. Appreciate that very much. So now we're going to switch over to some pre-recorded videos. The first will be a group of doctors and researchers. I will then continue the rest of the videos for the other groups as far as patients. So let me Let me switch over to the videos and we'll play our first one.
Howard has been a tireless campaigner for minimising unnecessary pain and suffering in males with low-risk prostate cancer. His advocacy from the patient perspective has been exactly what we clinicians need to build trust in the community for active surveillance and to also help keep the odd rogue practitioner in line. Sincere thanks to you, Howard, and congratulations.
Howard, what can I say? Well, many congratulations on this fantastic award, which is thoroughly deserved and hugely overdue. You have been tireless in improving the lot for men at risk of prostate cancer, recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, or indeed living with prostate cancer. And you've worked for patient groups, you've worked for the journals, you've worked with professionals. It's been fantastic to see just what you've done and how much you've achieved during your life. What I also love about you is that you're also a disruptor and you love new ideas, and you're happy to engage in them, and very importantly, challenge us when we come up with a new idea that you think needs debate and discussion and discourse. And you and I have had numerous discussions on various aspects of prostate cancer management, diagnosis and therapy that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and you've really tested me, and very often I just don't know the answer to your fantastic questions. You've made a huge difference to me personally, to thousands and thousands of men around the world, some of whom you know, most of which you don't know. You deserve this thoroughly. Many congratulations. I'm sorry not to be there to raise a glass with you. All the best, and enjoy the day and the evening.
Howard Wolinsky, a force of nature, driven by a deep passion and unwavering persistence in advocating for active surveillance. His work has been pivotal in raising the profile of AS and in underscoring the vital importance of communication between clinicians and patient groups. This award is long overdue.
Howard, we love you so much. We are so grateful for all of the work that you have done. You're an absolute legend, and it is so cool that you are being honored today. We just wanted to say thank you for the work that you've done. We're honored to even be a part of this moment, but thank you, and I'm sure all of the patients are also thanking you as well. I know many of them, and they've just said and spoken so many wonderful things about you, and we look forward to the work to come. Thank you for always being the trailblazer as you always are.
Good job, Howard. Many kudos. We're so proud of you. Thanks for all the wonderful things you've done for so many people.
It has been an honour to work alongside Howard Wolinsky over the past 5 years and to witness his unwavering dedication to the prostate cancer community. As a patient on active surveillance himself, Howard has transformed his personal journey into a powerful platform for advocacy, giving voice to countless men navigating the same path. Through the founding of Active Surveillance Patients International and his widely read blog, The Active Surveillor, he has brought clarity, courage, and compassion to a conversation that is often confusing and frightening. Howard's vision has redefined what it means to be a patient advocate, bridging patients, clinicians, and researchers, always with the patient's best interests at heart. His tireless efforts have made active surveillance not just an option, but a well-informed and empowered choice for so many. I am proud to celebrate his well-deserved recognition.
Howard Wolinsky. Now, what does that name mean to me? My name is Declan Murphy. I'm a urologist, professor of urology, and director of GU Oncology here in Melbourne at Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre, Australia's top cancer centre. Well, the name Howard Wolinsky to me will always strike me as a powerhouse of advocacy for, well, prostate cancer patients in general, but of course specifically men suitable for active surveillance. I'm speaking to you today from here in Melbourne in our podcasting studio. Myself and my colleague Renu Epen run a podcast called GUcast. We've been running for about 5 years, focused very specifically on GU oncology, prostate cancer in particular. And we've had the great privilege and pleasure of having Howard on as a guest. But I know him going back the years from long before that. I know him from his passionate advocacy for things like, yes, active surveillance, maximizing the proportion of patients who are eligible, who can avail of active surveillance. And we still have a way to go there. Many men out there today, I would say to you, especially in the US, are being overtreated for a trivial cancer that doesn't need to be treated. I know him from campaigns such as transperineal biopsy instead of transrectal biopsy, an ongoing initiative. Here in Australia, I haven't done a transrectal prostate biopsy for more than 20 years. And in Australia, across the board, public, private, regional, metro centres, the vast majority, way over 90% of patients have a transperineal biopsy. Indeed, urology residents that we're training in the past 10 years have literally never done a transrectal biopsy. And that's a good thing. And good on you, Howard, for continuing to advocate for transperineal safe biopsies for all men. MRI in the early detection pathway, another thing that strikes me when I think of Howard Wolinsky. We know from many countries like Australia, the UK, that we have to use MRI in the early detection pathway. It's outrageous in my view that in 2025, in a first world country like the US, someone should have a raised PSA and should be then offered a transrectal prostate biopsy without having an MRI scan. It's ridiculous. It's the single easiest way for us to get rid of low-risk prostate cancer. We don't need to rename it, another worthy campaign. Just do an MRI scan and we won't see those trivial cancers. But MRI, again, another one of the worthy initiatives that Howard has advocated for. So put all that together, what would I say when I think of Howard Wolinsky? I think this is one of the good guys. This is a guy who has the lived experience of prostate cancer, who sailed perilously close all those years ago to having a completely unnecessary radical prostatectomy. A guy who's out there using his extreme talent as a writer and as a communicator to keep pushing out these important messages to ensure that men out there, not just in the US, but around the world, are having adequate information and detection of their prostate cancers. And a guy who, above all, can shift opinions just by the sheer strength of his beliefs. And that level of advocacy, for me as a urologist, as a leader in prostate cancer, I can just take my hat off to you, Howard, and say, I'm so pleased to hear that the ASPI are recognizing you with their Patient Advocacy Award. From me and Renu and all of your many friends here in Melbourne, we wish you all the very best, and we hope that you continue to do this valuable work through ASPI and the Active Surveillor Substack for many, many years to come. Here's to you, old friend.
Hey Howard, it's Todd Morgan from the University of Michigan. I've got to tell you that this award is so incredibly well deserved. You are the standard as a patient advocate. If you remember, the first time I was connected with you was through one of my patients who was struggling with the decision around surveillance versus treatment for prostate cancer. And I really had recommended surveillance and was providing all the info that I usually provide. And as can often happen, that info wasn't enough. And the patient really wanted more, something else that I could not provide. And he found ASPI and he found you, and that information totally changed how he saw the decision between surveillance and treatment for prostate cancer, and really opened my eyes more than by far than they ever were to the impact that an amazing patient advocate and patient advocacy network can have for the individual patient who is struggling with the decision surrounding management of their prostate cancer. My ability to connect with you and connect with patients through ASPI has helped so many patients. you do an amazing job at highlighting what's new in our field and soliciting different experts' opinions covering all sides of any issue, because it's always complex and it's always nuanced, and you're able to tease that apart in a way that really very, very few other people can do. So this is truly a well-deserved award. It's a pleasure to be able to know you, to work with you, and really sending my heartfelt congratulations on this. Way to go.
Dear Howard, congratulations with the award from the Active Surveillance Patients International, which is very well deserved. In modern medicine, we more and more often say that patients must decide on evaluation and treatment. Knowing that it takes 10 years to train a urologist, putting more responsibility on patients is very dubious, but unavoidable. The most important response to this trend is that patients organise themselves, educate themselves, express concerns, and identify knowledge gaps. You are a true pioneer and a master in this business. That is why you are highly respected among professionals.
Hi everyone, I'm coming from you from the basement of the Carmiles Cancer Institute in Detroit, Michigan. Sorry I couldn't attend in person or virtually live, as I am in my office right now at the time of this ceremony. But I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge Howard Wolinsky and all the work that he has done advocating for active surveillance in appropriate men, in particular men with low-risk prostate cancer and select men with favorable intermediate-risk prostate cancer. We often think about a lot of the big names in active surveillance being urologists. We think of course, Dr. Klotz and his pioneering work. We think about Bell Carter. We think about Peter Carroll and the many that have, from a urology standpoint, have pushed and advanced the agenda for active surveillance, so men with indolent prostate cancers can hopefully avoid or delay the need for treatment for many years to come, or forever in many cases. But we often don't think about the work that others have done on the patient advocacy standpoint, and done so in the helping men kind of cope with this and become comfortable with this concept of not treating cancer, that they hear the C word and they kind of lose hope. Unfortunately, the only thing that this cancer does, even though it's not harmful in its present state, is it certainly does cause the anxiety that cancer does cause. And Howard and everyone at ASPI has done a tremendous job in helping patients understand the diagnosis beyond what we can do as urologists. They've done great work in generating a tremendous online community to help support men through their cancer diagnosis and be comfortable with this idea of active surveillance. So I want to congratulate Howard. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for about 3 or so years now. He's really been a tremendous partner to work with over that time. So I want to congratulate Howard for the great work that he's done, again, over a lifetime, hence the Achievement Award, for advancing prostate cancer in the United States and nationally, as well as congratulate ASPI and everyone there for the great work that they've all done. So congratulations, Howard, and congratulations to everyone at ASPI on the great work, and look forward to a continued partnership and collaboration together. And thanks again. I hope you all have a great rest of your event today. Have a good one.
Good afternoon from Florida, everyone. It's a true honor to be here today to celebrate Howard Wolinsky, a man who has redefined what it means to be a patient advocate. Howard and I crossed paths years ago in the prostate cancer arena. He, a thoughtful and determined patient advocate. Me, a seasoned urological surgeon who had grown very skeptical of the conventional prostate cancer narrative. From our first conversation, it was clear. Howard wasn't just another voice in the crowd. He was a force, measured, evidence-driven, and deeply committed to truth-telling. Howard's health journalism, twice nominated for the Pulitzer Prize, has never shied away from challenging assumptions. His work has earned recognition from the National Press Club, the American Bar Association, and more. But it's his advocacy, particularly through the Active Surveillor, that truly sets him apart. He has dedicated himself to educating men, empowering them to ask harder questions, and encouraging them to see that conventional wisdom isn't always wise or accurate. He brings the same rigour to patient advocacy that he brings to his teaching at Northwestern and to his writing: clarity, integrity, and above all, compassion. Howard reminds us that being a patient doesn't mean being passive, and that advocacy, when done right, can change lives and shift entire paradigms. Congratulations, Howard. This recognition is richly deserved. Cheers, mate. I could not be more proud and honoured to offer a testimonial to Howard on his receiving the Patient Advocacy Award from Active Surveillance Patients International. Howard is the preeminent advocate for patients on active surveillance, literally in the world. It takes almost a superhuman effort to daily produce high-quality journalism that informs men on all aspects relating to active surveillance and prostate cancer. However, what I want to speak to is my area of expertise, the pathology of prostate cancer. Howard appreciates and understands the importance of pathology as it relates to prostate cancer more than most clinicians and beyond almost any non-physician. What makes Howard such an exceptional advocate is not just his tireless pursuit of knowledge to inform fellow patients, but his critical thinking and willingness to question conventional wisdom. I look forward to reading the Active Surveillor, as it keeps me up with the latest information that I can also use when talking with patients for whom I've performed second opinions on their pathology. Howard has also been instrumental in hosting web-based conferences on pathology, which are unique in providing lengthy Q&A sessions for patients at the end of the lectures. I have always found these sessions extremely rewarding, and they sensitise me to the questions and concerns patients have with their pathology. Howard informed me that for 3 years he has been offered this award and declined. While his modesty and self-effacement are commendable, I am glad that, as Howard told me, he finally caved in to accept the award. So that myself and others can take the opportunity to thank Howard for all the exceptional and unique things he has done as a patient advocate in the field of prostate cancer.
My name's Scott Egner. I'm a urologist at the University of Chicago and wanted to send along my heartfelt congratulations to Howard Wolinsky. What a well-deserved honor. I've known Howard for about 15 years, and first as a patient, and second as an advocate and friend and colleague and ally in the prostate cancer community. As you all know, Howard is a force of nature in the best of ways. He is clear-minded, he is sharp and smart, he's articulate, he's passionate, and we've partnered together on many projects through conferences and papers and videos and otherwise to try to move the needle for what we and many others think would be an improvement for public health. I'm very fortunate to have known Howard. I'm happy that other people are celebrating him. And Howard, kudos and congrats. It's a pleasure knowing you and working with you, and congratulations.
Congratulations, Howard. I cannot think of a more deserving recipient of this Advocacy Award. You have made incredible contributions through your leadership in support groups, your journalism, and your research efforts. From advocating for the expansion of active surveillance, to safer biopsy strategies, to optimizing prostate cancer nomenclature, your work has touched and will continue to touch thousands of patients around the world. I'm deeply grateful for all that you have done, and I send you my heartfelt congratulations. I am honoured to share how Howard Wolinsky has been a blessing in my life, both medically and personally. After my urologist informed me and my friend Charles Brown that we each had prostate cancer, we began a deep dive into understanding our diagnoses. While watching ASPI and PCRI videos, we saw Howard receiving an award from PCRI and learned that he lived locally in the Chicago area. Charles reached out to him and we invited Howard to lunch. At our first lunch, Howard was impressed with our prostate cancer knowledge, but wisely asked if we had sought second opinions on our pathology reports. We had not. Instantly, Howard texted Dr. Ming Zhou at Tufts University. Dr. Brian Helfand, who is both Howard's and my third urologist, recommended that I get an MRI. I am now on active surveillance. We also have a new Chicago area active surveillance group, and Howard has been the hub connecting all the participants, and we continually learn from each other's research and experiences. Howard and I also share a love for the zanier side of life, particularly the Three Stooges and the Honeymooners. When I experienced sudden hearing loss in my right ear this past March, Howard put me in touch with his brother Steve, a retired audiologist. Steve and I had a detailed conversation about my hearing issue, and I recently sent him a book about Jackie Gleason's life. In closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude. Howard Wolinsky has truly made a difference in our lives as a patient advocate, mentor, and friend. Thank you, Howard.
Hello, greetings from Australia. I'm Chris Blackburn. I'm 65. More importantly, I have a Gleason score of 3+4. I had no luck speaking to urologists and doctors. I didn't know what to do. I did a bit of research. I came up with the Active Surveillor and Howard. I contacted them. Howard was brilliant. He put me in contact with a Melbourne doctor who's active surveillance friendly. I'm now under his care. I was more scared of making a wrong, ill-informed decision than I was of cancer itself. I'm now at ease. I owe that totally to Howard. He's not a doctor, he's a journalist, but he's a bloody good journalist, and he knows what he's talking about, and he helps people. And I can't thank him enough for putting me on the right track. Thanks, Howard.
Heartfelt congratulations to Howard Wolinsky. Howard is a true force of nature. To say he has been determined in his effort to save prostate cancer patients from being misled is an understatement. Among many other things, he has written an untold number of prostate-related articles, moderated countless active surveillance support group meetings, and co-founded several AS organisations. He started a newsletter that has now become a Substack called the Active Surveillor, met leading experts in AS and related fields, and introduced many of us to those experts through incredibly informative ASPI webinars. Through those webinars, we learned about the value of second opinions on biopsy pathology, the advantages of transperineal biopsy, and the disadvantages of transrectal biopsy. Howard was also the driving force behind the ACE 101 video series, specifically created for men just starting their prostate cancer journey and needing to get up to speed, quickly but gently. When does he sleep? Howard's creativity has empowered so many men with the best, most current information to help them confidently choose active surveillance over unnecessary treatment. I met Howard through an online Zero support group he moderated at their annual meeting, only a few months after my husband Larry was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Larry had one random biopsy showing Gleason 6, and the urologist recommended surgery. I said, "Let's study this." Larry was very busy with work, so I became the family's prostate cancer researcher. So there I was, attending a Zero support group, unsurprisingly the only woman there. I felt a bit awkward until Howard warmly welcomed me and made it clear he wanted wives involved. That made me feel comfortable asking questions. I learned so much at that meeting that I began attending the weekly ANCAN-AS support group that Howard moderated. Those weekly sessions were packed with information. I learned from the patients, their questions, and their personal stories. Howard is a fantastic moderator, able to bring humour to a serious topic, making everyone feel at ease. It was a safe space. Every question was welcomed. From the start, Howard always made me feel included, even though I was usually the only woman in the group. Larry didn't attend for quite a while. Some regulars began wondering if Larry even existed, or if attending support groups was just my quirky hobby. Eventually, Larry joined and immediately understood why I found the group so helpful. Later, changes in his diagnostics led him to seek active treatment. But first, he wanted a second biopsy, a transperineal one. Howard was there for us again. He gave Larry guidance on where to get a TP biopsy in the US. He even introduced us to the inventor of the TP device, who then connected us with the doctor at Mayo with the most TP experience. We got an appointment quickly. Howard has helped us in so many ways. We are so grateful for everything he has done for us and for others. Later, when Howard needed a couple of actors for the S101 series, he asked us to appear in just the first video, pretending to be a couple learning of an elevated PSA. We said yes. 8 30-minute videos later, we had covered nearly all the topics Howard had in mind. He now calls us the stars of AS 101. He's the best director ever. AS 101 is available on the ASPI website and YouTube channel. Be sure to watch them in order. It was a joy to help create the series and to meet so many amazing medical experts, as well as work with Alex Schultz. We hear Howard has more ideas for videos, so maybe we'll get another shot at stardom. The red carpet awaits. Thank you, Howard, for all that you do. This award is so well deserved. You truly amaze us.
Hi, my name's Joel Axler, and I'm from Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm sorry I can't be there today, but I wanted to send this message to congratulate Howard as he's honored as an advocate for men with prostate cancer, and for his work in advocating and emphasizing active surveillance as a response to a prostate cancer diagnosis. I met Howard at just the right time, early in my prostate cancer journey. I was on active surveillance. My Gleason score had just been reclassified a bit higher, and I had a known BRCA2 mutation. I wasn't entirely sure what to do next, and I had attended a support group. Howard was one of the moderators. He and the other moderators connected me with experts from around the country who could help with some of my decision making. Howard even introduced me to his own personal doctor, who just happens to be an expert in the BRCA2 mutation and in prostate cancer. I was even able to share my experience with members of Howard's audience through his media sites. I'm eternally grateful to Howard, and I can't think of anyone better to honor as an advocate for prostate cancer patients. So thank you, Howard, and congratulations.
Congratulations to you on this well-deserved award. Thank you for your unwavering dedication supporting prostate cancer communities across the US and around the world, especially for the invaluable information you provide to patients navigating active surveillance.
Hello, my name is Jeff Coleman, and I am a prostate cancer patient on active surveillance, and I have known Howard now for approximately 5 years, and I'd like to think that over this period of time he and I have become friends. And I want to congratulate him, of course, on his ASPI'S Award for all of his dedication and advocacy for all of us AS patients. And in celebration of that, since I am unable to attend the ceremony, I decided to write a little something for Howard, and I wrote this in the style of an Irish limerick, and as they say in Ireland, therefore should be read as such. There once was a reporter named Howard, who in the face of prostate cancer was no coward. Like a sword, he used his pen, writing articles to aid men and help thousands whose prostates have soured. So once again, thank you, Howard, for everything you've done for me, and thank you for everything you have done for all other men on active surveillance, and congratulations again on a well-deserved award. Thank you, sir.
Not for me the surgeon's robotic knife, nor those burning rays. My body stands strong, whole. But I wait, I watch, and if the worm should turn, I'm ready. This is my life, and I will guard it all my days.
As a colleague and good friend in the business section of the Chicago Sun-Times, I saw Howard's persistence and determination in pursuing news stories in all phases of Chicago business, from finance and banking to manufacturing and healthcare. Howard always had more stories to develop and ideas to pursue than any editor could dream up, and he never missed a deadline. So, it comes as no surprise to see Howard recognised for his innovative work in co-founding the organisation now called Active Surveillance Patients International. As a patient, and as an advocate, Howard was on the story before it made into specialised publications, and certainly far ahead of the popular media. And as an award-winning journalist, he developed sources in the vanguard of the active surveillance movement. One mark of a first-rate piece of reporting, not even his sources knew of Howard's other sources. All that while holding down a key role in the business section of the Sun-Times. As we said in the newsroom, nice going.
It's a real pleasure to take part in this awards ceremony. Howard has been a tireless and fearless active surveillance advocate for many years. As Dr. Klotz once mentioned to me, a force of nature. I can't really remember when I first met Howard, but I think it was during COVID's early days. Possibly one of the only positive benefits of COVID was the exposure of online Zoom prostate cancer support meetings. I met Howard through the ASPI webinars, and I began to become more involved with ASPI at the time. Howard was encouraging and really responsive to all my queries. We spoke quite a bit and discovered that we were both long-term AS followers, similar in terms of both age and time spent on AS. I've been very active in AS support since my diagnosis in 2007, and I think that one of Howard's legacies is the example he sets for others as far as active surveillance support and awareness goes. Howard is always available to answer questions and point AS men in the right direction. Howard's knowledge and network of medical contacts is second to none, and all men on AS benefit from his hard work. Howard's Active Surveillor blog has become a tremendous resource for men who are actively AS and want to keep up with the most current prostate cancer news. I can't think of many more prostate cancer volunteers who are more deserving of this honor. Howard, enjoy the praise being heaped on you. You deserve it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Schrate. I'm a 15-year prostate cancer survivor, a support group leader, and a member of the board of directors of Zero Prostate Cancer. My remarks this afternoon are my own views and opinions and not made by or on behalf of Zero, ASPI, or any other organization. I could talk all afternoon about Howard's contributions to the prostate cancer patient community and specifically the active surveillance community, but in the interest of time, I want to focus on three key things that Howard has helped me understand. The first of those is that patients need to be their own best advocates. The second is that patients in the prostate cancer community as a whole benefit from the full and honest discussion of differing points of views. And finally, that prostate cancer patients need to surround themselves with a community of patients facing similar issues. Turning first to being your own best advocate. Howard and I were both diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2010. Howard with low volume Gleason 6, me with low volume Gleason 7, 3+4. We didn't know each other at the time, but eventually I heard Howard's story. At that time, in 2010, only about 6% of newly diagnosed patients went on active surveillance. Howard advocated for himself, pushed back against a urologist who was pushing him into surgery and went on active surveillance. I pushed back, or so I thought, against a urologist pushing me into surgery, but eventually I succumbed to conventional wisdom and trusted my urologist at a Center of Excellence in Chicago. I had surgery, which I regret until the day I die. Howard successfully used his story to advocate for active surveillance and teach patients to be their own best advocates. My experience and Howard's story transformed me into a patient advocate and taught me the importance of being my own best advocate and teaching that to the patients I encounter. Second, full and honest discussion of differing points of view. Howard has an uncanny ability to bring people of different viewpoints into a discussion in a constructive fashion. I think I first met Howard in 2016. He was writing on prostate cancer for MedPage, and I followed his articles. An article had just appeared in which Ben Stiller had surgery for Gleason 3+4 prostate cancer and touted PSA screening and surgery as being responsible for saving his life. Wishing to study this further, Howard initiated discussion among Dr. Jerry Chodak, who is widely considered to be the father of active surveillance, Otis Brawley, who was then medical director of the American Cancer Society, and Ted Schaefer, a prominent Chicago urologist. concerning the appropriateness of Ben's treatment and the need for deeper analysis and consideration of active surveillance. Little agreement was reached among the parties, but a fulsome discussion of the issues gave patients a better understanding of the issues involved in their treatment decisions and helped them identify what was important to them. Howard continues to use his outstanding journalism skills to promote open and honest discussion of active surveillance and other prostate cancer. In about 2022, he began publishing the Active Surveillor at his own expense. It contains deep analysis and presentation of leading views on prostate cancer screening, diagnosis, and treatment, and provides men with information they need to make the decisions that are right for them. Finally, community of prostate cancer patients facing similar issues. Every man's prostate cancer journey is different. Active surveillance is evolving and has its own unique issues that were frequently not addressed in support groups or existing patient organizations. Howard recognized this early and worked to form ASPI and establish an active surveillance-specific support group at ANCAN. He's currently creating a community of active surveillance patients in Chicago. Thanks to Howard and others, today we take support of active surveillance patients for granted. I've only scratched the surface of Howard's contributions to the prostate cancer community and the active surveillance community specifically. I thank him and heartily congratulate him on the much-deserved and long overdue Patient Advocacy Award. Love you, Howard, and I wish you the best.
Howard, thanks for all you do, and for keeping the entire world informed about early detection and ongoing active surveillance of prostate cancer. Your writing is valuable because it brings clarity, perspective, and connection to a subject that's often clouded by uncertainty. I worked next to Howard Wolinsky for 16 years at the Chicago Sun-Times. I was always impressed with his work, particularly as the newspaper's medical reporter. He documented the first years of the AIDS epidemic, pointed out financial irregularities at the Chicago-based American Medical Association, and even took a stand defending the chiropractic industry. Lots of courage there. But he did his best work after leaving the newspaper, when he created a worldwide group of men online who were suffering from low-level prostate cancer. Wolinsky was one of them. He decided not to undergo prostate surgery or radiation. Instead, he chose to carefully watch his symptoms until or if his disease ever rose to a level that demanded more concrete cancer treatment. Active surveillance is a fine balancing act. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I called Howard to talk to him about a strategy. What most impressed me is that he didn't push for or against active surveillance. He just explained it to me, over and over again, and said, "It's got to be your decision." That's what he does for thousands of subscribers who turn to him to learn more about their options. Their loyalty is cemented by their belief that Howard is not pushing any treatment. It's clear that he is simply sharing his knowledge and asking for thoughts from thousands of physicians, practitioners, and patients so we can create a more educated community. The Active Surveillor is an essential resource to those who are considering options. I and many of his readers eventually decided on surgery. Howard did not approve or disapprove of my eventual choice. "It's got to be your decision," he told me.
My name is Michael Millinson, and I'm honored to be asked by Howard to honor him for all of his wonderful work. By way of background, I was a colleague of Howard's in a competitive sense as a reporter for the Chicago Tribune, covering healthcare many years ago. We've known each other since the mid-1980s and really reconnected later on after I left journalism and became an adjunct faculty at Northwestern, a consultant, an activist, and an author all about healthcare. And I say that because my own experience has helped me understand even better what makes Howard so special. Start with the passion of a patient activist and advocate. Add in the skills of a storyteller, the curiosity of a journalist, and not just curiosity, but a good reporter's instinct for what's new, what's important, and what should be greeted with a certain amount of skepticism. Howard is as concerned with accuracy and fairly presenting the latest evidence on all aspects of prostate cancer as any academic who writes for the peer-reviewed literature. And as someone who has done quite a bit of peer review, I can say that without qualification. Finally, add in persistence. Oh my God, the hard work it takes to meet the kind of standards that Howard sets for himself and turn out regular articles, long and short, all the time, that are both interesting and informative and important. Nobody else, academic or activist, journalist or just blogging for the heck of it, has done what Howard has done and continues to do. Howard has made and continues to make the world a better place for every man who has had or will have prostate cancer or just fears that they will. There's a famous Talmudic saying that while it is not upon you to complete the work, neither are you free to desist from it. Howard's persistence has both honored that Talmudic teaching and made the world, as I said, a better place. Thank you, Howard.
Okay, so now we're going to open it up to the floor and let our audience participate. And I do see a couple of raised hands, and I will call on raised hands in the order that they come up with one major exception, and that would be Robin Chodak. Robin, if you wanted to say a few words, I think you deserve priority here, given that our first award was named after your husband. So if you'd like to say a few words, I'd like to turn the floor over to you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Bill. Wow. What amazing tribute to you, Howard. And I'm glad to be here at this presentation live. It's awesome to be here. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the widow of Dr. Chodak. I became involved with Howard after Jerry died. Although I heard Howard's name many times in my home because he and Howard worked closely together, and I knew how much Dr. Chodak truly respected Howard. And actually, Howard was the one who suggested that Jerry be the first ASPI medical director. And Howard approached me after Jerry died in 2019 about the Chodak Award. And I am so grateful to Howard for that, because that award keeps the legacy of Jerry alive. Jerry began this journey of active surveillance and caring for patients and started the support groups, and he did his work, but he left it. He left it for us to continue it, and ASPI is doing that, and I am very grateful to Howard for what he has done for the Chodak Award. And Howard is not only a patient advocate, he is a great human, and he seeks to help others. And I want to just say a personal note how he helped me. Howard knew that I was a writer. I had written several books on grief. And after Jerry died, I wrote a book called 10 Grief Lessons from Golf. And if you're a golfer, you could relate to how golf does cause some grief. Well, I took my grieving process after Jerry died and I made analogies to the golf game. And I could do that from my own personal experience. And Howard was the one to facilitate an article about me and my book written in the Chicago Golf Digest. So I'm very grateful to Howard. And, Howard, he doesn't realize that he through his teachings, through his work, through his journalism, that he has touched more people in the universe that he even knows about. So I'm very grateful to be here as Howard gets this award. It's very deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. That's wonderful. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. I know I said we were going to take the next speakers in order. However, I'm going to make one exception again, and I'd like to let Dr. Peter Carroll, one of our CHODAC recipients, jump to the front of the line here.
Bill, thank you very much. I'll be very brief here because it's hard to add much more that's been said. But, many lead very successful professional careers. Fewer lead successful second and third careers. Very few have broad and substantial impact. Howard is one of the latter. He is fearless, committed, compassionate, resourceful, and very insightful. I had to kind of laugh when you mentioned this award was for the non-medical people, but I don't consider Howard non-medical. He's a great source of ideas. He asks great questions, and I listen very carefully to him and get ideas. And then Kevin Shee described one of the ideas he gave us, and given the information we have at UCSF, we have rapidly turned it into a publication that got broad application and was hosted in many forums. Let me just say, Howard, congratulations. I think you've made me, the field, and all of us better. This is very, very well deserved.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll. Okay, let's go in order. Freddie, you're next in line.
Thank you very much for letting me say a few words, Howard. It's an absolute joy to be with you and celebrate this well-deserved accolade and long overdue for you to accept. When you started your advocacy, you were sailing uncharted and very rocky oceans and seas. And you made it. You prevailed. And you prevailed because you had the courage, you had the drive, you had the intellect, and you had the empathy, as well as the ability to navigate between opinionated doctors around the world and the patient and what the patient really needs. When I first met you, and it was a huge privilege, it continues to be a privilege, which was at this infamous ASCO meeting where you will not be given the microphone, and I was sitting next to you, and then you stood up and went straight to the microphone and took your time. I knew that I was meeting somebody different, somebody who would make a difference. What you need to realize is that as you are doing what you're doing, you're not just helping other patients, you are helping physicians to become better doctors. You were very kind to recognize the small contributions that we have made for our research. And I just want to say big congratulations, and please continue to do your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Antonio, would you like to take a turn?
I would love to do so. Howard, now there are very few things that we can add from what was said, and always well deserved. So very first thing, congratulations. But what I want to do now is thank you. Now I want to thank you for having made that first phone call to have a quick phone interview when I was still at UCSF. I want to thank you for taking time to help me with a personal endeavor recently. But more important, for those who don't know me, I'm a radiologist. And as a radiologist, I like to think of myself as being a radiologist who knows there is someone, behind the film. But Howard actually put a face behind each film. He allowed me to interact with other people, and through that, remind myself every day why I'm a radiologist. And hopefully I'm being able to spread that to my trainees. In other words, Howard, your reach goes way, way beyond what you have heard today. So thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you, Antonio. Ingrid, would you like to take a turn now?
Sure. So I'm Ingrid Hall. I'm an epidemiologist from the Cancer Division at the CDC. It's hard to believe that I've never met Howard in person. We've only just spoken by phone. But after hearing results from a presentation that he delivered back in 2023, not sure when it was, I reached out to Howard to collaborate with me on a new study that I hoped would improve upon the findings that he reported on. Howard was interested in my idea and became a willing, well-informed, dedicated collaborator. We've watched this study come to fruition over the past 2.5 years. So Men on Active Surveillance could not have a more staunch advocate who tirelessly champions your trials, your tribulations, and also victories in rooms and settings where most of us don't have a presence. So I'm pleased to finally meet you, my friend, and congratulations on this honor.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Okay, Mike, as promised, you're up.
I think Howard's received enough congratulations today. I want to set the record straight. He's blamed me for years for the fact that he became a prostate cancer advocate, and he's right. I accept the blame. The session in Chicago at the meeting in 2010 was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I thought Howard handled it with great skill. And I would remind everybody that actually large chunks of the audience clapped very loudly. This was an audience of entirely urologists. But Howard has accomplished some other things on a continuum. Rick will probably talk about this too. There are those of us who started talking about active surveillance as long ago as 1990. The first time I met Jerry Chodak was in 1989 at a meeting being held by Shearing Plough. He made an impassioned plea for the more cautious treatment of early stage prostate cancer. He was listened to, but I don't think most of the audience agreed with him. There were some very famous urologists there who certainly didn't. There were other people who also were talking about something that wasn't even called active surveillance at the time. This has been a very long process. The great thing from my point of view, however, is that Howard allowed me to retire. I'd done this for 20 years and I was tired and I needed a rest. And Howard took over, pushing for active surveillance. And I am delighted. And I would point out that if Freddie Hamdy thinks that the PROTECT trial was just a small thing, he's nuts. It was huge. And it was probably the most important thing that happened in the world of active surveillance after Dr. Klotz and Peter Carroll's, other studies. But it was a randomized trial and it changed everything. So Howard, don't take yourself too seriously. These awards are very important. I gather right now that the only reason anybody gave me an award last year was because you kept saying no. And please keep going for as long as you can, but I would give you one piece of advice. Try and find somebody to replace you. The skills that you have and some of the skills that I had are not common. They require tact, they require communication skills, they require empathy, they require understanding, and sometimes they require an aggressive approach to the audience who isn't really wanting to listen too much. So look for somebody to replace you. Good luck. Have fun. The important thing is to have fun.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for the advice. We all will take that very seriously for the future. Okay, Wayne, if you would like to go ahead.
Yeah, there are patient advocates, and then there's Howard Wolinsky. And you've heard some describe him as a force of nature, and that's probably a good description. I first met Howard in 2020 when I started attending ANCAN meetings for men with prostate cancer on active surveillance. And that was a challenging time even for myself as a physician. I wasn't sure of the group dynamics at first, but Howard, who was the group moderator or facilitator at the time, made me feel very welcome. He demonstrated concern and compassion for each person in the group, and his passion for improving the diagnosis and treatment of men with prostate cancer was palpable. I also came to appreciate over time his vast knowledge of not only who were the key experts in the field, but which urologists supported active surveillance and those who were less enthusiastic about active surveillance. It seemed to me as though Howard knew and could provide referrals to experts across the entire US. And it seems today he even has expert friends in places like Australia and the UK. I also came to realize that Howard was no ordinary advocate. His career and background, as you've heard, is steeped in medical journalism, spanning his early days writing for the Chicago Sun-Times, also a patient column for MedPage, and more recently, as we all know, he started the Active Surveillor, which has become an extremely useful weekly Substack publication for men on active surveillance. And it seems that Howard expects to go on living forever. As you probably know, he's concurrently pursuing graduate studies at University of Illinois, Chicago, while doing all the other things he's doing. If you know Howard, you will also know that he has a naughty sense of humor, along with a keen intellect. He can be very outspoken and unapologetic when it comes to his passion for certain things like the abolition of transrectal biopsies and his push for better biomarkers and whether or not Gleason 6 should really be considered cancer or not. I deeply appreciate and admire the work Howard has been doing as a medical journalist and as a patient advocate. He's helped me understand and navigate the world of prostate cancer, including the challenge of finding and choosing appropriate healthcare providers and centers of excellence. Howard has also encouraged me to participate and has actually facilitated my being involved in various advocacy efforts and my involvement in various programs. And to that, I really am appreciative. So Howard, I salute you. I'm deeply grateful to you, and I wish you the very best. So congratulations and enjoy your ASPI award.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And Charles, you are next in line here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Brown, and I live here in Greater Chicagoland. I've only known Howard for about a year and a half, and I was diagnosed with cancer in December of 2023. I'd pretty much had a flawless medical history before then, so I was bewildered. My friend Keith, who you heard about 30 minutes ago, tell his story. We went through this together. We were watching a PCRI video. A really great resource that we had found was this PCRI.org website. And we saw Dr. Scholes and Alex sitting up very straight as they were presenting an award to this man. And I said, this cannot be just a normal person here. So I texted Keith and said, you got to get on this video. And sure enough, I Google searched him while it was going on and saw that he had a phone number with a 312 area code. And I said, Keith, we got to call this guy. We got to have a lunch with him. And Keith said, we'll never get a lunch with this guy. He's too big. I said, well, all he can say is no. Well, Howard didn't say no. And what you've heard from so many people on this call is that he is really a worldwide figure. But to us, he was just Howard Wolinsky sitting across a lunch table, giving us advice, encouraging us to get a second opinion on our pathology, connecting us with Ming Chow at the time in Boston, getting a second opinion on our pathology, which was a downgrade for both of us. He also suggested that we get a genomic test, which was the Decipher, which also concurred that we had no business having any surgery or radiation, any treatment at all. And so Keith and I both became advocate believers in active surveillance. I just want to finish this and say that in many ways, prostate cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. And a lot of this is because of what Howard has done with us and for us. The number one reason is I learned I can't do this alone. You need a community of men standing together. You cannot do this alone. Men that understand the emotional, physical, stresses of this and want to be a part of a community to support each other. The second reason is that it helped me take my medical condition seriously. I think I just always assumed I was never going to have any medical challenges and that the doctors were always advocating on my behalf for my best interest. We found out, Keith and I, now that we're on our third urologist, that that is not necessarily the case. Howard strongly convinced us we need to take ownership of our medical diagnosis. The third thing is it helped me change my diet, losing more than 35 pounds, changing considerably what I was eating and drinking, frankly, and becoming healthier to not only just reduce the risk to my prostate, but also improve my cardiovascular condition. And fourth, helped me realize that being able to give back is such an important thing. I've given this testimonial before, and PCRI heard this and flew Keith and I out last September to give our speech to the folks. And people came up to us and said, "So who is this Howard guy?" And I said, "Well, he's world famous, but to us, he's just Howard across from a dinner table." And there aren't many people in the world that can work in such a macro level that I've seen on this call, and a micro level, which is just face to face across a ham sandwich at lunch. But Howard spans the gamut and able to do both of those. Howard, you've made an enormous, enormous difference in my life, life-changing, in that I could face this challenge that I have and do it with the confidence that if I ever need a question answered, you're on the other end of the phone. So thank you, and God bless you, Howard, for everything you've done for everyone on this call, but in my case, especially for me. Thank you, Howard. Love you, buddy.
Thank you very much, Charles. Rick Davis, I'm going to let you cut to the front of the line here because I understand you have some time constraints, and I'd like to get you in here to speak about Howard.
So, Bill, yes, I'm Rick Davis from ANCAN Foundation. Howard's on our advisory board, and he's also one of our moderators, and we've been working together for a long time, since prior to ASPI. I'm honored to be included with the opportunity to laud Howard, but whether I can do it in 2 minutes, I'm not sure, because anybody who's had any conversations with Howard knows that that is it's a huge task to complete communication with him within 2 minutes. Howard really, as you've heard, placed active surveillance on the map by coagulating patients and healthcare professionals. Very early on, he called me out because he felt that my attitude was that active surveillance patients are all wimps. And he was probably right. But it did shape me up a little bit. And I think between Howard and ANCAN, we've done a huge amount to place active surveillance on the map, along with ASPI and, of course, the physicians. He's also been the catalyst, I would say, for naming 3+3 group 1 cancer as something else that was briefly mentioned, but yes, all the doctors got together, all the doctors, Egner and Cooperberg and some of the other doctors we've heard from all got together and they published that paper. But Howard and I were pushing quite hard in the background. And I think that some of that pushing brought that group together, and they continue to advocate as recently as this past couple of weeks. The other major effort that I attribute to Howard is innovating transperineal biopsies and bringing to the forefront the transrectal versus transperineal issue, which as Howard recalls, we actually debated. And that always brings up an image in my mind. I don't see Ira Lieb on this call, unfortunately, but Ira Lieb is a good friend of Howard's, and he's a terrific cartoonist. And I've always been tempted to ask asked Ira to create a special cartoon for Howard of a picture of him emerging with a standard that says transperineal from a gentleman's rectum. And when I think of that image, it always makes me laugh. So Howard, I just want to thank you. It's always been a privilege to work with you, and I hope we keep working together for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Appreciate it. Brian, you want to jump in real quick?
I would. Thank you for this opportunity, and certainly congratulations to Howard. My name is Brian Helfand. I am part of Endeavor Health in the University of Chicago, and I truly have the privilege of caring for Howard and being his urologist as part of this active surveillance journey. And I think Howard and I now have met almost a decade ago when active surveillance was truly more experimental, and our protocol was truly a research protocol. And he really kind of shared that same passion and was willing to not only take on that journey with us together, but really kind of learn together. And I think that immediate connection and excitement, which is a weird thing to say as a patient, for prostate cancer really kind of bonded us from the start. But of course, it was also our love of Chicago food and Portillo's, which I think still continue to bring us together. But nonetheless, I think we really have talked a lot through the years and really have talked about a comprehensive approach to his care, which is obviously focused in on prostate cancer and bringing in kind of the latest techniques and their pluses and minuses, whether that's biomarkers, imaging, as we say, is biopsy techniques, genetic tests, et cetera. But we've also kind of included a lot of the other important aspects to prostate cancer, but life, and whether that could be urinary symptoms if you're talking about urology, but it could be diabetes, stress family, diet. Ironically enough, our love for Portillo's kind of has gotten rid of a lot of the things that have tasted good over the years. But I think we all stereotype that patient-physician relationship where the physician is truly the instructor or the teacher. But I would argue that Howard has equally been the teacher to me. And I think he's really allowed me the opportunity to be the learner from really understanding and emphasizing what patients want from this prostate cancer journey. And I think, Howard, you really reminded me how vital it is to truly listen to you, to patients in general, to understand that every patient and their desires in this journey are not the same, but really kind of sitting down and informing patients of all of the things that they should get or we understand the limitations is important. To really approach every conversation with that empathy that we sometimes now take for granted, but also transparency. And I think your voice throughout the years has really shaped how I practice medicine. And I'm grateful truly to you for that insight and the integrity that you have brought around you and that have really kind of exuded throughout the world. And so with that, truly, I couldn't think of a better person, Howard, that a better fit for this first award of someone who's so passionate and deserving of this ASPI award. So thank you, and certainly look forward to continued journeys and potentially Italian beefs throughout the way. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Really appreciate it. So Gary, I believe you're next up.
Well, let me read what I wrote. It's hard to follow all the heavy hitters that have been before me, but Howard has a place in my heart. So, and I also would like to know, you can't see it, but I do have my Active Surveillor t-shirt on, saving prostates every day. After I am a member of the ANCAN moderator group, after joining ANCAN, it didn't take me very long to recognize how caring and supportive the moderators, including Howard at that time, were to men just starting on their cancer journey. I was taken back by the amount of knowledge and contacts that was available to everyone to help them along on the start of their journey on active surveillance. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2010. I've been on active surveillance since my diagnosis. Fast forward to March 2021, my Gleason score doubled from 6 to 12, unexpectedly. I was upset, frightened, and at a loss of what to do. On the call, I explained my situation, everybody being compassionate and listening, and stating my urologist here in Melbourne, Florida, where I reside, did not perform transperineal biopsies, which I had come to learn was the preferred method. Howard told me he knew the doctor that discovered and developed the precision point system that allowed less needle insertion into the gland. That sounded good to me. Howard made that introduction, and Dr. Alloway called me to inform he had a trained urologist at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. He gave me his name. I made the necessary appointments, and within 10 days of talking to Howard at that meeting, I had a transperineal biopsy, luckily with negative findings. It was with the dedication that was expressed at that point that was so inspirational, and I decided to help the ANCAN's message and became a moderator with the Active Surveillance Group to this day. Howard has an enormous wealth of knowledge and contacts. It is amazing. He has endlessly helped hundreds of individuals, most probably thousands, go forward on their journey with introduction, location of the best centers of excellence, and heartfelt suggestions as to what they should pursue on their journey. As most of you know, his Substack newsletter, The Active Surveillor, has been widely accepted by the medical profession, by practitioners, and of course by people on active surveillance, and has always had pertinent information about prostate cancer and active surveillance. We all know that how quickly changing new diagnostic tools, medicines, and treatments, and how it helps to keep us informed. Howard is so deserving of this award. He has always expressed his advocacy for anyone facing the prostate cancer journey. My experience with Howard has been nothing short of remarkable. He is always willing to help, to research, and do whatever it takes to help anyone on their journey. At the same time, he always takes compassion, taking into account his own beginning journey, where there was almost no help for someone who was newly diagnosed with low-grade disease. I am honored to speak here today about Howard Wolinsky, who I consider to be my friend and my brother together in our journey. He has tirelessly helped so many people and continues to do so every day with his dedication and his cause to inform, not to mention having to write each and every day. I believe for Howard, a day without writing is like a day without sunshine. Howard, congratulations, and you are certainly most deserving of this award. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you very much, Gary. We have 3 more people who would like to speak.
I'm Hugh Edstein. I'm a moderator in active surveillance for ANCAN, and Howard taught me that. And we've heard all these incredible stories, and I could go into all kinds of other ones, and we'd be here till midnight. So I won't try. I'll try to make this short and just offer a couple of observations and or questions here. So one observation is it's incredible how Howard, when you're talking with him, he makes you feel like you're the most important person in the world to him. And because of that, I thought I was really his most important and maybe his only friend, only to find out that he has so many friends of all of you guys here today, that I've realized that he's really been cheating on my friendship with all of you. And I'm going to remember that, Howard. But the other thing is I've got 2 questions, perhaps for the group or for Howard here. And One is I just wonder how many prostates that this man has really saved over all of these years. And let's keep in mind that as we guys, we really kind of like our plumbing. And just think about it, Howard, how many guys that you have helped by saving their prostates and their sex lives and their urinary tract lives. It really is plumbing that we kind of want to keep. So I thank you, Howard, for on behalf of all of the prostates and guys that have saved that. And then the other one is I don't know how this guy can write so much. I can't even read all of the stuff that he writes. And, you know, it takes a lot more to to write it than to read it. So I don't know when this guy ever has any downtime. And I just, you know, Howard, thank you so much. I do consider you a great friend. You have just you've added so much to my life, and I also my hat's out to your family. You're a great guy, and there's no one more deserving of this. Thanks, Howard.
Thank you, Hugh. That was that was very nice, and I'm sure that Howard is okay with the fact that he has more than you as his friend at this point.
I'll allow it this one time.
Good. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Okay, Nancy, you're up.
Yeah, hi. This is Larry.
Oh,
uh,
sorry, I
I
only
just,
saw Nancy there. So,
well,
Yeah,
that's
right.
okay. Forever, people didn't even think I existed. And I don't know if our written piece has been read or not, but I just wanted to thank Howard for many things. One, I'm alive and well, but my prostate is dead. I went to active treatment after active surveillance, after a period of time in active surveillance. But what Howard did, Nancy, my wife, met Howard. I'm a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, and was working at 2 or 3 jobs, and had a transrectal biopsy done. It showed a 3+3, and the urologist was ready to cut it out. And he told me, he said, I don't do any. I just open the abdomen up and take out the prostate. And I thought, well, that was not a good thing. And my wife thought it was not a good thing at all. And so Nancy found Howard. What was it at?
It was a zero meeting.
Yeah, at a zero meeting, and I'm so thankful for that because Nancy started going to ANCAN meetings, and what I really thank Howard for is many things, but that he recognized her as someone that was intent upon learning as much as possible about prostate cancer, how to diagnose it, how to treat it, and not only that, but how to deal with it in a group of other men. So I think she was the only woman there. And so I didn't go, but Nancy would tell me what was going on, and I appreciated, being a psychiatrist, the level of safety that Howard and others provided in that group for all the men and her to be able to talk about their concerns, their fears, their hopes, their dreams, and learn from all the people in the group and from all the people that we would see in video meetings. But what I wanted to really talk about, besides Howard and Nancy, I think they had a relationship. I know they did, and I know that she's sitting here with me now. We're actually in Spain, in south of Barcelona, with our daughter and our grandchild, and happened to be able to get Wi-Fi at the last minute to be here. And I didn't want to pass up being able to see Howard, see everybody else, and let people know, yes, Larry does exist. Larry did benefit greatly from Howard. An example is, once I decided to have treatment, Howard shifted with me and helped me deal with that change. He connected me with a gentleman who invented a device to help with transperineal biopsy, which I didn't really know about. I'd had 3 or 4 transrectal with mixed results, mixed pathologists. I went to MD Anderson and Mayo in Phoenix. So in any event, I go up to to Mayo in Rochester, the mothership, and a gentleman who had performed a great many transperineal biopsies. By the way, Howard turned me on to the gentleman, the doctor who invented this device on a Friday, a doctor. That doctor called me, talked to me, and said, you know what, I'm gonna call a person I know that's probably done the most, trained in England. And so he called a urologist at Mayo, and within an hour, the doctor at Mayo called me and made the appointment for me. He actually this doesn't happen. I mean, I'm a doctor, I've been a doctor for 30 years. I'm actually talking to two doctors on the same day on a Friday, talking finally to the doctor at Mayo, who took the time to make the appointment for me. We were driving up to Rochester in a week, had the biopsy done, about 3+4, which is kind of consistent with what we've been seeing. And I had other issues as well, PSA going up, and I decided that I was uncomfortable waiting any longer, and then moved on to treatment and did a high-dose brachytherapy at UCLA. And 3 years later, I'm doing well and having no sign of prostate cancer returning. But and other people have mentioned it. Howard, I think, may be a better doctor as well. And I'm a psychiatrist that's supposed to set up a wonderful therapeutic environment for people to talk and share their feelings and such. Well, Howard helped me think about that differently. And not only that, he helped me to become a better patient because I was a lousy patient. He helped me know how to go into a doctor's office and question the doctor and provide the best types of questions, and to be able to do an auditory recording of it, so I could leave there and remember a little bit of what was said and have that to go back on. So Howard, my gosh, thank you for bringing Nancy in to the group, a legitimate member, and even, I think, suggesting that she become a moderator. I appreciate that so much, and I know she does. She felt so supported because, again, this is not just about us guys and about our prostates and whether we can get it up or not. It's about our women, our spouses, our significant others. And so Nancy was a big part of my treatment. I love her to death. And Howard, I love you to death. And I think you're a wonderful human being with such great humanity that it's been a privilege to even be on the outskirts of this whole situation and just be a part of this. And not only that, but you with a great idea of having us make videos about what it's like to be a patient going in to see the doctor. What did we make? 8 videos?
Yep.
I mean, we became stars in the video field. Thank you, Howard. And I think Howard has some more ideas. My gosh, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's really hard to turn down.
Yeah. Yeah, we love you, Howard. Congratulations. You are so deserving.
And bless you, man. We love you a lot. We love you a lot. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Larry and Nancy. For the record, your what you had written for us did get used in the very early part of the meeting. So, but it's nice seeing you here in person, the actual stars of AS 101. I mean, how could you not? Quite a treat.
It was great fun. It was great fun. We learned a lot from all the wonderful experts that we talked with and visited with. So thank you, Howard. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you again. Okay, Keith, we've got 2 more to go. Keith, you're up.
Yeah, it's first of all, thank you, Howard, for including me in this group, and recognizing you for this well-deserved, award. So there's not really much I can add to, what's been said so far. So I think the best thing I can do is just tell you a little bit about, my experience with Howard. And it's going to be similar to what you've already heard, but this is just another AS patient. I was diagnosed in April of 22. And after several months of being on active surveillance, one of the staff members of my doctor at the time said, you might be interested in attending these ASPI meetings. And I says, well, what's that? And so they gave me the information, and I did. So my first meeting with ASPI was in November of 2022. So this is how I first was, I'll say, exposed to Howard. I think that's probably an appropriate term, because that's what happens. You get exposed to Howard. And so eventually, attending these meetings, and I'm not sure exactly when, and I'm not exactly sure how, what it was, but we connected personally, probably through an email, and then eventually via phone. And then at some point, I said, I'm having a doctor's appointment in your neighborhood, and maybe, we get together for lunch and talk. And, so we did. And again, I don't remember exactly the date of that, and it's not significant, but we spoke not only about, active surveillance and prostate cancer, we talked about so many things, and I don't know if I should be embarrassed, ashamed, or proud. We talked for several hours. And to protect the innocent, I'm not going to say exactly how many hours, but I apologize to his wife for perhaps making him late for dinner. But at any rate, it was such a wonderful conversation. And I think, for me, it was more about just a human being. A humanitarian. And I think that's perhaps why we made this connection. And we talked for so long and enjoyed the conversation. And then ultimately, Howard said, well, I'm thinking about starting a luncheon group. And actually, he was already participating with a few other members, Charles Brown and Keith Day. And he says, maybe I'll include you in that luncheon group. And I said, no, sure, go ahead. That'd be great. I'd be happy to sit down. I'm a people person. I have no problem talking about my, medical situation. Happy to share and interested in, sharing information. And it's a two-way street. So at any rate, this eventually came to be, and some of you folks may be aware of it, but so now we have the Chicago area group. The first meeting was, I believe, in March, the second one May, and we have another one coming up here in August. And this is just a place where active surveillance patients or their spouses can come share their story, to not necessarily for support. I mean, it's partially for support, but for me, it's about information exchange and having access to hearing all these individual stories, which are so very different. Even though we're on active surveillance, there are just significant differences from each individual case, and so much to be learned as a patient in participating in this type of an activity. And my point is that this is something that, Howard had the vision for and said, this is something that, he thinks would be good. I couldn't agree more. I'm happy to be part of that group. But this is typical for Howard. It's his personality. He's always looking for new mechanisms to engage more people and share knowledge. I mean, that is, I think, the crux of who Howard is. So, and beyond just being a co-founder of ASPI and the author of the Active Surveillor, which provides so much really important and good information, it's been one of the best information sources for me. And so I really value that. And, he's been an asset, not just to me, but to so many patients that are on their active surveillance journey. So this recognition of him is certainly deserved, but it just goes so much further beyond, being an advocate for active surveillance. It's about being a responsible human being, sharing of himself. There's not a lot of that left in today's world. I certainly appreciate it. I know everyone else does. So congratulations on this award, which is truly deserved. Thank you for including me in all of this, and I look forward to our continued relationship in whatever format that is, in participating in the ASPI and in the Chicago, area group. So thank you, I think, is perhaps most appropriate for being who you are, Howard.
Thank you very much, Keith. Very heartfelt words. And I'd like to say we have one last guest speaker. Jeff McLennan from our ASPI board would like to say a few words about Howard. So, Jeff, I'll turn it over to you. And then after that, Mark Lichty, our chairman, will present the actual award to Howard. So, Jeff, take it away.
Not to take too much time. Thank you, Bill. First of all, Howard, thank you to you, but thank you to your family. I realize being a volunteer myself in various places, a giver of time, your family supports you, your wife supports you, your children support you. So first of all, thank you to you and your family. You have a selfless quality. I feel like there's a talk about standing on the shoulders of a giant. You continue to go through life taking on the beast, whatever that is. You did it in the media, in the newspaper empire, and now you're doing it here in medicine, and we all benefit from. Thank you, Bill and Rochelle, and all those at ASPI that made this possible. I am humbled, after 10 years on the ASPI board, plus or minus, I'm still benefiting from Howard's teaching. So, Howard, you're a blessing. I would say, mixing culture here a little bit, you wear the big tiara. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. So I think we've come to the climax of our program, and I'd like to turn it over to Mark Lichty, our chairman, who will, through the magic of the internet, present Howard with his extremely well-deserved award. Mark, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me, Bill?
We can hear you. If you want to step back just a tad, part of your head's missing in the camera.
How's that?
Oh, much better.
I have never witnessed anything quite like this. And I think I said about this that I wanted to do a living memorial service for you. So you didn't have to wait until you died, until you heard these words. And the sincerity of the words was touching. And everyone was so deeply touched by your life. They said about Gandhi when he was asked, what is your message? And you've left a wonderful message yourself. And your life, Gandhi responded, my life is my message, and your life is your message. You live a consistent life, the same message of caring. Everybody that spoke here has seen that in you, how deeply you care. When we first met about 8 years ago and decided we were going to create this organization called Active Surveillance Patients International, we really didn't know how much it was needed, how much men needed to have choices, how much we needed to hear the patient's voice. And you have been a central figure in giving the patient a megaphone. Today, even for me, I was at my cancer spread, as you know. So I've been on active surveillance for 20 years, and now I'm going to require treatment. And you are the voice of second opinions. As ASPI, that's one of ASPI's messages too. Be your own case manager, get second opinions. And so today, just before this meeting, I was following that counsel, getting a second opinion on radiation for me. And we don't know what ripples we create in our lives. But I heard all these voices, and I'm grateful that all of you who spoke today spoke, because your input was valuable. And Bill and Rochelle too. Thank you. You've coordinated a wonderful program. I appreciate that myself. And so, with that, I would, on behalf of ASPI and the thousands of men whose lives we touched on active surveillance, we present this Patient Advocacy Award, the Thrainn Thorvaldsson Award. And you've long deserved that award, by the way, but continued to refuse it. Finally, I was able to prevail upon you to accept the award. And as I said, I've never witnessed anything like what I've just witnessed, and the words that I've just witnessed. And everybody that was here today and is here now, I encourage you to consider a living memorial service. Don't wait until you die. And so this thing that Bill and Rochelle have created here is ASPI's gift to you for being you. Thank you. When I designed the award, I included something about the patient-doctor communication. And we have seen a seismic change in the past 20 years in that patient-doctor communication, where the patient and the doctor are almost on a par. The doctor is willing to listen, the patient's willing to bring up issues, and unlike 20 odd years ago when one was intimidated by that. Anyway, thank you, Howard, and so well deserved.
So do I get to say anything?
It's now your turn.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm overwhelmed by the kind words. I don't know who that person is. I'd like to meet him someday. I want to thank my wife, Judy, and sons, Adam and David. They've had to put up with a lot of crap on my part, and I apologize publicly. But so Judy, now you know what I've been doing. It's I promise no tears, but I am touched and grateful. When Mark Lichty first told me I was selected for this award, I immediately declined. I told him I didn't want to become a patient advocate to win prizes. But he said resistance was futile, so I gave in. And I really appreciate everybody who had these nice things to say about me. And, you know, Mike mentioned that I should have somebody in waiting, and we have people in waiting. I took Mike's place. Somebody's got to take my place. I'm looking for volunteers. So don't, watch your email. I pictured this event as being more of a roast, but it didn't turn out that way. Mark had told me that it would be like a living wake or memorial. He mentioned having a similar event for his mother-in-law. Here's the punchline. Mark's mother-in-law died the day after her living wake. Mark, are you sending me a message? You don't hear these things when you're alive. So I feel honored to have heard these things. Also embarrassed. I appreciate everyone who's taken their time to share their thoughts. And I'm going to tell a story that many of you have heard, but maybe tell it in a different way or with different insights. Active surveillance, close monitoring of a prostate tumor has changed significantly since I was diagnosed with low-risk prostate cancer in 2010. Back then, annual prostate biopsies were standard. MRI was just being introduced, primarily used for staging rather than monitoring patients or guiding biopsies. It's changing the whole business of active surveillance, and I expect something similar will happen with microultrasound, which in this forum we've been talking about for years and has finally been recognized as being the equal to MRI. The award is named in honor of my friend Thrainn, so I don't want to forget to thank him. We've worked together a long time. He's probably sleeping now, but at any rate, so there have been breakthroughs thanks to Thrainn and all the people who were organizers of ASPI and ANCAN and other groups. And I think that what the breakthrough has been the creation of a community. When I was diagnosed in 2010, I knew only one other person on active surveillance, and that was a cousin of mine in Berkeley, California. And we rarely talked about prostate cancer. We talked about genealogy or other things like that. And it was another 7 years before I would meet another person on active surveillance, and that was Thrainn. And I started writing about the experience of being a patient in Facebook. Facebook was pretty new then. I was teaching at Northwestern, and all my students, I mean, it was designed as a way for students to be in touch with each other. My students at Northwestern, I felt like they thought I was going to spy on their private lives, but I was an early adopter of Facebook, and I didn't really care, although I did give them some advice, which was if you're going to be in Facebook and you're going to be looking for a job, don't be posing with a beer bottle or a glass of wine or anything like that. Be professional, is what I told them. What you do in your own time is what you do in your own time, but don't put yourself out there as a party person. It might hurt. Any rate, I'm getting lost there. Any rate, so I started writing about this in Facebook, and I started hearing from all kinds of people. I remember being on vacation in Florida, and two people caught up with me back in 2011, probably, and they wanted advice about active surveillance. What was it? People didn't know what it was. There was no, I don't know, there was no great promotion of it. It was more of an academic exercise. So I started sharing what I knew. I never claimed to be a physician, just another patient, and sharing his or her experience, his in my case. So I shared this information, and one of the lurkers in Facebook was Peggy Peck. I know Peggy was here earlier. She probably got bored and left. But Peggy had been reading what I was writing in Facebook, and she was the founding editor of MedPage Today. And so I met up with her at a journalist meeting in Cleveland, and she said, would I be interested in writing a column for MedPage Today? Well, typically when I'm offered an opportunity, I almost always say no, because I want to think about it. But I said to her, "Do you think I really could teach these doctors anything?" She said, "You'd be surprised." So we started this column, A Patient's Journey. And that's how I got acquainted with Mike Scott. Mike put my name in as a potential speaker for the American Society for Clinical Oncology to be the first patient to speak to their symposium on genitourinary cancers. And so I was invited. It was all set up. Dr. Hamdy was there. Dr. Klotz was there. Scott was there. And it was all arranged. I was going to speak. And then I was forgotten. We were an hour into the program. They switched moderators. And that was like a turning point in my life, but I didn't know it. I saw we were approaching an hour into the program, and I said, I realized that if I didn't speak up, I wasn't going to speak. So in effect, I grabbed the mic with their permission, threw away my speech, and went on a 7-minute rant on what was wrong with this picture of doctors inviting a patient to speak and then forgetting to call on that patient. And I told them that that was symbolic of their relationship with their patients, and they needed to start listening to their patients. And I wrote about this, but other people did too. And I became sort of an underground figure for active surveillance. I wasn't aware of it. But Thrainn heard about it, and Thrainn got in touch with me, and he asked me if I knew if there were any support groups in the US for active surveillance. That's something he created in Iceland. And so that's how I got to meet Rick Davis. This is probably in, 2017. And, I got acquainted with his platform. And eventually what happened was we created a support group a virtual support group for men on active surveillance, and the occasional woman too, as Nancy pointed out. But so we started this in, I think, 2019. And we started out slow, once a month, then twice a month, now 4 times a month. And, every week, maybe 20 to 30 patients, many of them newly diagnosed, come to the meeting, and they support each other with information. And so we did a good thing. ASPI evolved a bit too and became more of an education resource with Active Surveillance 101 plus monthly meetings on topics where we get the top people in the field to talk. And now Thrainn is not going quietly into the night either. He created the idea of sort of mini support groups of 8 to 12 people, calls it the cavemen. If you want to know more about it, you can ask him or ask me, but I'm taking up enough time. So, and who would think that 300 or 400 men or people concerned about active surveillance would sign up every month to attend these meetings? Remember, 2010, I was alone. Now, then, when we got together, Bill joined us, and George Gillespie, let's not forget the other fifth Beatle, joined us, and we became a thing. It was a place for people to learn and people to support each other. Things have grown out of it. So one last paragraph, and then you can all go home, and no tears have been shed. So I'll end with the way I began. I'm going to thank you all for coming. The session today is not just a celebration of me, but a celebration of us. We have created a community of support where none existed. a healthy and helping ecosystem of patients and physicians. Thanks to you all. The end.
Can I suggest Dr. Glode has a last word? He's been waiting patiently for well over an hour now, and he's had more experience of watching this sort of thing than any of us.
That's up to the organizers and
I know.
Please.
I'm totally blown away by Howard's history and the presentations today, and it was very well done, very professional. Thanks to Bill and the people behind the scenes who made the lovely videos. So I think that was a great presentation and well deserved, Howard.
Well, thanks, and thanks to Rochelle and Bill and Mark and all the other munchkins. So thanks, Mike.
Well,
You're welcome.
And I am looking for a replacement. We all eagerly want to be replaced. And
Mike has had a 20-year vacation, Howard.
Then I can have a 20-year vacation. And I could use it.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that Mike might be ready to come back. Just kidding, Mike.
You'll be lucky.
So, Howard, I feel like we need to go to a virtual bar and have a virtual drink with you.
Oh, you know, last week I had 2 beers. I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan to give an award to Dr. Morgan on behalf of ASPI. And Judy and I went to a German restaurant. We're going to Germany in September. So I thought we could audition German food. I don't think she's ever been to a German restaurant. There's some good ones in Chicago, I might add. So I had a brew, and I, you know, that was like probably the first beer I've had in 15, 20 years. It was pretty good. So then I went to present the award the next day, and I met up with some people I've met through these programs in Ann Arbor. And I'm a former Ann Arborite. I was a journalist in residence at the University of Michigan. Go Blue. And I met up with several other guys, and I had another brew. So, Mike, I'll raise one to you, but I may not have another one in my life, but we'll see. And Mike, I like your new haircut.
Thank you.
Okay, well, what I would like to do is to formally end the meeting with our greatest and most sincere thanks to Howard. This will also allow me to stop the recording, and then we can say anything we want, and you can.
Yeah, really let me know what you think.
Yeah, it'll be the time for insults and everything. So it'll be there for eternity, Howard.
Oi.